Hi, welcome back to Zoe's Tropes. So, in case you haven't heard, Taylor Swift has a new album out, and it's called The Tortured Poets Department. And as soon as she announced it, I knew that I was going to have to be there on day one. So, we've got that dark academia, literary, corporate aesthetic. I mean, we've got the tortured poets in the title. It's coming out on the 200th anniversary of Lord Byron's death during National Poetry Month. And so I took that personally. So, after spending the past week listening to the album on repeat, I thought I would give you some ideas for poetry books to read if you liked the album or if you liked the idea of the album. I mean, the album came out in two parts, totaling 31 songs. But overall, generally, the album is about heartbreak, maturity and immaturity, parasocial relationships, foresight and hindsight, and of course, love. And Taylor, being a book girly, put in a lot of allusions and references to actual literature, mostly of the 19th and 20th century. So I've got here a list of classic poetry and modern poetry, mostly from 19th, 20th, 21st centuries, whose styles or images or concepts feel very similar to the Tortured Poets Department. So first off, we have Lyrical Ballads by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. So she does explicitly seem to reference Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Coleridge in the song The Albatross. I think it was listed as one of the bonus songs on the original album, and so when that title dropped, my romanticism brain was the alarms were going off. And we knew it was very possible because she has explicitly referenced Wordsworth and the Lake Poets in the song The Lakes from Folklore, one of my favorite songs, and also because I like the romantic poets, so that makes sense. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner does feature in Lyrical Ballads. I wouldn't say reading the poem, I really think of Taylor Swift, but let's look at the poem a little bit. Rime of the Ancient Mariner, we have two versions in this edition of Lyrical Ballads, the original published version in the 1798 collection, and then they expanded it in 1802 and made some edits along the way. So we have two slightly different versions of Rime of the Ancient Mariner. In short, a wedding guest who encounters this strange person who comes up to him and explains his story of encountering an albatross when on a ship. And this person warns him, kind of does a little bit of a fable about his experience being on a ship and killing an albatross while at sea, which is not a good thing. And he ends up having to hang the albatross around his neck. His shipmates become zombie-like creatures. It's very fantastical. And then he's cursed to warn people about messing with albatrosses, really. Taylor's albatross is a very vengeful figure as well, I think. I'll read a part of it. I'll read the end of part 5. How long in that same fit I lay, I have not to declare. But ere my living life returned, I heard and in my soul discerned two voices in the air. Is it he, quoth one? Is this the man? By him who died on cross, with his cruel bow he laid full low the harmless albatross. The spirit who bideth by himself in the land of mist and snow, he loved the bird that loved the man who shot him with his bow. The other was a softer voice, as soft as honey dew. Quoth he, the man hath penance done, and penance more will do. So yeah, the moral of the poem and of the song The Albatross is don't fuck with albatrosses. Importantly, it was when I was reading this poem for the, I don't know, the fifth time or something, and I realized I don't really know what an albatross looks like. Google what an albatross looks like. They are big. And just imagine having to hang one around your neck for eternity. So Taylor's previously alluded to romanticism, specifically the Romantic movement and the Lake District, the Lake Poets. In the song The Lakes, she does some wordplay about William Wordsworth, what are my words worth? It's like, very clever. But she also references that romanticism with a lowercase r in songs like New Romantics, I Hate It Here. So we can talk about capital R romanticism with lyrical ballads, especially because this is like the foundational text of British Romanticism. In the 1802 preface, Wordsworth literally kind of defines and offers a manifesto for what is poetry of the Romantic period. I would recommend checking it out because it talks about poetry versus prose, what is a reader supposed to be, but one of the famous lines is, "For all good poetry is a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings." And it reminds me of that concept from like musical theater. You sing because you cannot speak. And it's that same concept with poetry. And I think the two intersect with Miss Taylor. Next one I think I'll talk about is a Wordsworth poem. It's lines written a few miles above Tintern Abbey on revisiting the banks of the Wye during a tour July 13th, 1978. Also just known as Tintern Abbey. It's one of the most famous poems of British Romanticism, and I think a very good one. And it reminds me of the Tortured Poets Department in the sense of the looking back, the nostalgia, or even unpacking your past a little bit, and really appreciating not just the past in the past, but seeing it again through your current eyes, knowing the experiences that you've been through. That feels very much like a theme and a concept that Taylor really appreciates. And it's got a lot on nature and place and how place holds memory. For I have learned to look on nature, not as in the hour of thoughtless youth, but hearing oftentimes the still sad music of humanity, nor harsh nor grating, though of ample power to chasten and subdue. And I have felt a presence that disturbs me with the joy of elevated thoughts, a sense sublime of something far more deeply interfused, whose dwelling is the light of setting suns, and the round ocean, and the living air, and the blue sky, and in the mind of man a motion and a spirit that impels all thinking things, all objects of all thought, and rolls through all things. And then it keeps going, and it's really great. My next recommendation is Emily Dickinson. This is all of her poems. I feel like you could get away with a selection of them. This is just what I've got. Also, I would just like to appreciate that I got Grage sticky tabs for the occasion. So you're welcome. Dickinson isn't explicitly referenced in the Tortured Poets Department, but, you know, when we think of tortured poets, I feel like Dickinson's one of them. Taylor's apparently related to her distantly, and there's a line in I Hate It Here that talks about wanting to be in the 1830s, but without all the racists. The 1830s was the end of the British Romantic period, and also Dickinson was born in 1830. So there's my direct connection there. But really, I think Taylor Swift has a lot in common with Emily Dickinson in terms of their writing style. In Dickinson, like in Swift, we get a lot of this self-referential, raw emotion, desire, nature imagery. I died for beauty, but was scarce adjusted in the tomb when one who died for truth was lain in an adjoining room. He questioned softly why I failed. For beauty, I replied. And I for truth, themself are one, we brethren are, he said. And so, as kinsmen met a night, we talked between the rooms until the moss had reached our lips and covered up our names. So there are two poets that are explicitly referenced in the Tortured Poets Department by name. So that's in the song The Tortured Poets Department, the second song on the album. One is Dylan Thomas, the other is Patti Smith. So there's this line that I do quite like in the Tortured Poets Department, the song, where she says, "You're not Dylan Thomas, I'm not Patti Smith, this isn't the Chelsea Hotel." And it's saying, you know, let's not self-aggrandize, let's not say that we're geniuses like Thomas and Smith. Let's bring things down a little bit. It's not that deep. I do have Just Kids by Patti Smith on my shelf, and if I see a collection of Dylan Thomas at some point, I'll pick it up. But I don't really have much experience in reading either of them that much. So I just looked through what's on poetryfoundation.org. It felt like Taylor a little bit. For Thomas, this is the Almanac of Time. I'll read the first stanza. The almanac of time hangs in the brain, the seasons numbered by the inward sun. The winter years move in the pit of man, his graph is measured as the page of pain shifts to the red-wombed pen. For Patti Smith, this is from Kodak. I'm on the ledge, that's a several-story drop. How did I execute my brilliant catwalk? That's up to you, Franju. But there I am, perched on her windowsill like a dirty bluebird. The back of my neck is wet. I sit there what seems for hours, a human chess game. She makes the first move. And then I wanted to throw in some contemporary poetry that, Taylor doesn't reference in the album, but still feels like the vibe of the album, for sure. So after I listened to the album, I thought for a second, what actual poetry does this album remind me of? And one of the first ones that came to mind was Anne Carson's The Beauty of the Husband. It's a fictional essay in 29 tangos. So through these 29 poems, Carson tells us the story of a marriage and its collapse with the framework of John Keats's Ode on a Grecian Urn, the last line. Beauty is truth, truth beauty, that is all you need to know. It's very weird, it's very Anne Carson. And I've actually not revisited this in maybe 10 years, and so it was really fun to page back through it. I'll read from number 8, which the title of the tango. It was just night, laundry snapping its vowels on the line when mother said, "What's that sound?" Poets, be generous, prefer to conceal the truth beneath strata of irony because this is the look of the truth, layered and elusive. Was he a poet? Yes and no. His letters, we agree, were highly poetic. They fell into my life like pollen and stained it. I hid them from my mother, yet she always knew. This is from 18. What eyes at Eagle Height can see back as far as day in March? I stood in a doorway with him behind me, his lips on my neck, nape of the neck. Hole in time shows this moment to me and to you, ragged where edges of synaptic change melt off into blurred walls of other days, a flashbulb memory, neurologists say. It has both explicit and implicit circuitry. Oh yeah, and the title of this poem really feels Taylor to me. It feels like Maroon from Midnights, which I feel like she used some of the lines from Maroon in one of the Tortured Poets songs. Do you see it as a room or a sponge or a careless sleeve wiping out half the blackboard by mistake, or burgundy marks stamped on the bottles of our minds? What is the nature of the dance called memory? That's the title of that poem that I read part of. This is a great collection. Next up, we've got The Natural Hustle by Eva H.D. This is a Canadian poet, I believe. Eva H.D. does a really good job of capturing the everyday, the mundane, and making it feel grandiose, making it feel large and emotional and important. And there's a bit of a darker bent to a lot of her work as well. This is from Some Letters and Attached Photographs, and then in parentheses, The Most Beautiful Leaf. It's a very fragmented piece, but I really liked this page. Like a pine cone, pocket this, a reminder of the season I felt everything for you. A man at the bar says, I miss your dry humor and your loveliness. My aunt pulls out an old photo, goes, we look like kids. Poetry is that slow song, every wedding needs one, and every bride an elegy, veiled. So there's this stanza I love from Tattoo. Meanwhile, broken hearts abound in the city's downtown broken heart district. I am strongly considering being the next disaster. Things need to be prevented from rotting somehow. We send for bags of ice, congeal in dry-walled eyries, fan our lovers with moth-wing hands and good intentions. I can't really snap that well. So lastly, we have The Orange by Wendy Cope. This is such a small hardback. It's so tiny. Like the words are thicker than the book itself. Like what is going on? Anyway, this is a new release. I think it's just a great little snapshot of her poems. They're all very short. It's a very quick read. And yeah, here we go. This feels very similar to, I think, what Taylor Swift is about. Poems that are sometimes laugh out loud funny and sometimes very moving. Wendy Cope offers reflections on love and life, from the joy of falling and being in love to the pain of breaking up, from memories of people loved and lost to the small moments that make life worth living. If you haven't read the title poem, The Orange, it's great. But the ones that really felt Taylor to me. So here's the opening stanza of After the Lunch. On Waterloo Bridge, where we said our goodbyes, the weather conditions bring tears to my eyes. I wipe them away with a black woolly glove and try not to notice I've fallen in love. Rhyming couplets in contemporary poetry just feels very bright and jovial to me. And then this is just a nice haiku. I mean, I'll read the whole thing. It's a haiku. This is actually a wonderful haiku. It stirred up emotion and sensory detail in me in 3 tiny lines, which is what haikus are about. A perfect white wine is sharp, sweet, and cold as this. Birdsong in winter. Okay, listen to my sad little snaps that I do at poetry readings. It's like, it's the mothwing flutter. What did Eva HD say? Fan our lovers with mothwing hands. I feel like that's me holding my hands to the mic. Imagine that in a large room. It's not very effective, but listen, it's with love. So yeah, here are my poetry recs for if you like the Tortured Poets Department. And look, my recommendations will be very different from everybody else's. So if you have any titles that you think of when listening to the Tortured Poets Department, write them down below, and we can make this list a lot longer. So thank you for watching, you tortured poets. I don't know.